to Swim Podcast Episode 3. My guest on this one is Oliver from Bring Me the Horizon. And we did this in the basement of Drop Dead, which is his clothing shop in Kingly Street in London. And it was a couple of days after the NME Awards where Bring Me had, they've received an award and then they played. And during the performance, he sort of climbed out into the sort of area where all the guests were and ended up on top of Coldplay's table, which collapsed, and then it all sort of blew up out of proportion, and people were writing in the tabloids that he'd attacked members of Coldplay, which is weird because while it was happening, they were just sat there loving it, laughing and clapping. So it was, yeah, kind of weird. That's how those things work, I guess. So we spoke about that. We also spoke about Bring Me the Horizon and stuff that they've got coming up. And we also spoke about the power of symbols and how that sort of shifts depending on the cultural context, which I think was really interesting. We should also shout out to Hannah, his wife, who sat there in silence throughout the whole thing and listened to us rambling on for quite a while, which is essentially what you're going to do. So props to yourself as well. I hope you enjoy this one. I think there's some interesting stuff that's spoken about. I'll try and put up some links that's relevant to the stuff we're talking about as well. I also noticed that with the first two episodes which I put on, which was with Chino Moreno and Corey Taylor, that there's a few sites that have kind of taken things out of context and then it all blew up, especially on the Corey Taylor one where all of a sudden it ended up with him having to tweet that no, he wasn't actually leaving Slipknot. If you listen to the whole interview, you'd realise that's not what he said at all. So I suspect that as there's some stuff in this one, which a lot of people might want to quote out of context and it would look terrible, probably listen to the whole thing rather than, you know, going on that whole knee-jerk reaction. Anyways, with that said, enjoy. This is Ollie from Bring Me the Horizon. I thought it was funny. Obviously, like 2 days ago was the awards. And I think the backlash that suddenly like it was all planned that you were going to jump on the table was crazy. Yeah. I think it's funny because as far as I was concerned, like when you were playing, you then came out, you came past the table, and then you were up on the balcony, and then the first table that's in front of you is that table. Yeah. It didn't seem like you'd sat there, scoped everything out, and were like... Oh,
I couldn't see. I mean...
exactly, it's crazy, though.
I wish I was...
It's weird how everyone's like...
It is, it's really interesting. I wish I was that cool that I could... If I premeditated something like that, it would have gone completely wrong. I'd have been more... I wouldn't be able to do that, you know what I mean? I would just up there, full with booze and adrenaline, and just... I completely just got on the first day. I'm glad it was Coldplay's because it was either Yoko or... Kylie Minogue on the other side. I just got knocked out, you know what I mean? or it's just, at least there was something there, you know what I mean? Like for us, it's just been amazing because, like, obviously, like yesterday, it was just like every tabloid thing. Like my name was trending for 18 hours, and like all these people just, and every single magazine and tabloid and newspaper had an article on it. It was like the Jordan were like freaking out yesterday because it was like the #1 news story on the Daily Mail. Yeah. Was it Daily Mail? The one that's the biggest in the world. Yeah. And
it's nuts, isn't it? I think it's kind of synchronicity, though. Do you think? Because it just like, I don't know, like... I
guess it's just a story there, isn't there? It's like, it's perfect. I mean, that's why it does seem so premeditated, because there's that little bit of history there. People have already like fabricated the fact that we were furious about the album cover and stuff. When all really happened is made a passing comment about the cover looking the same, you know what I mean? Yeah. No one cares. No one were ever mad. So, but there's an easy story there, and it were really interesting for us yesterday, being on that side of like, of how like they can. I mean, it's not like they've spun it like loads. They've just like today, it's like Coldplay singer attacked by a rival band on a top awards show, and it's just good how like it's just really interesting how you see how like when you hear about like a fight between Justin Bieber and someone else in a club, you think what actually happened? Yeah, because they just
spiral.
If you break it apart, they're just using adjectives to make you think, but you can't really be held responsible for that because they're not actually lying. They're just using it in a good way, and it was just mental just seeing it all and being part of that. Like everyone's got an opinion whether they thought it were a good thing or a bad thing or you know, like a dick move or whatever, and it's
whatever. I mean, you only need to look at the pictures to see how much they were all laughing.
Yeah,
like it wasn't like they were gonna be pissed about it. They were just. It was just.
No.
It was just funny. It was like everyone was stoked. It just felt really like it was well vibed.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It was,
everyone was buzzing. And
yeah.
End of the day, I think I read this, and someone said the award is a middle finger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if we can't do stuff like that anymore, then what are we going to these awards for? Because they're always in danger of being dull. You know what I mean? We just listened to a 20-minute speech about Yoko Ono.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't even about her though. That was the
yeah,
that
about that, and
mind.
then his new work, his project coming up. It's just they are just in danger of being boring, aren't they? And I think whether a lot of people like it,
everyone from Foles had a go as well.
Yeah, no, they were great actually.
Yeah, they were
They were sick.
But he was climbing about, and no one was like, when he bumped into a few people, he was like, "Oh, he's got beef because."
Well, I don't really think anyone's mad. I think everyone just likes the juice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's one thing we didn't think about after it all happened is Coldplay one of the biggest bands in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just on Super Bowl. You know what I mean? So they're very topical. So it's just you think, of course this is going to be worldwide news, and it's of course no. And I don't think. I mean, obviously, Coldplay fans are a bit angry, and people who just don't like us or me in general are going to have something to say. But it's just where we are at now, isn't it? Everyone has to. When a topic's that big, everyone usually goes on Twitter. It's like when someone dies, but you never listen to never listen to them, or you never watched them in movies, but they've just died and they're an influential person. Everyone says R.I.P. Even though it's like, well, it doesn't really mean not, does it? Because you didn't follow their lives. You don't really care. You're just saying it because a big event's happened. That's what Twitter's for. Yeah, it's kind of same. I just think it's kind of the same. So it's just forgotten about, isn't it? Yeah. I say it's forgotten about. It's on front page at Daily Mail today, but it will be forgotten about tomorrow.
Yeah, it's funny as well, like how people were going, it's all because of this. And I mean, when you think, it made me think, like it then started making me think about how the way that, like, I was going to say the band, but. I mean, it's fair to say that you drive all that on a visual front, right?
Yeah.
And also, we should say that we're in the shop at the moment, and also some of the stuff that you've done with Drop Dead is like the use of certain symbols, and I think they're really powerful things. And I think it is a fair shout what you said about them using the flower of life. I mean, it is different. Theirs was the the 19 circles, right? And yours was 61, I think.
I've lost.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like, you know, there's definitely, of course, it's such a strong visual image, and there is a connection, and I think anyone would be hard pressed to have not made that connection, especially as how well like Sempiternal did. And
that's the thing.
Everywhere.
I think that's what we'll never come across when people say all this stuff, because they only kind of use the bit that makes it sound juicy. But all I were making a note of is I completely understand that Coldplay have never heard of our band, but I can't buy it. But like at the end of the day, people
I find it hard to believe that they don't know the band name within anyone.
But even
saying about
even
the
still,
personally,
even still, they're on a record label that works with other record labels, knows everything that's going on, everything's coming out. I fail to believe that. I can accept that they use the Flower of Life, because at the end of the day, it's the last album. It makes sense to them. It's like it symbolises forever and whatever, and that's like, so I can imagine the idea coming completely naturally without any influence from us. Of course, why the hell would they go? I like that. I'm going to rip that off. I get they know that, but I don't buy that. At some point, someone didn't go. Do you know that 2 years ago an album came out that did quite well in a different scene? You know what I mean? Like, I just want you to know, I don't believe that no one went and they just didn't go, yeah, but it don't matter, does it? Because it was like 100 times bigger than them. That's all. I think that's all I was making a comment of. Like, I don't buy that. At no point did they not really. They weren't aware.
Even if they weren't personally aware, somebody was.
They were being made aware, weren't they?
Yeah.
Just like you do. You know what I mean? Like we were going to call one of our albums Empire, and I remember looking back, and the band already had it recently, and I'm like, we can't do that. You know what I mean? And it's just. I don't know, maybe they didn't, you know what I mean? But it just seems, and I think we weren't angry at all. We were just a little bit gutted, I think, because it's gonna, as they are such a massive band, it's always gonna, you always feel like a bit threatened in the fact that it might wash away, you know, that what it were for you.
Yeah.
It were never angry. It was just a bit like anything, innit? It's like.
But then you could also look at it from a universal point of view, where you go, okay, well, more people now,
which I did,
more people are now going to look at what this means and look into what this symbol actually represents.
Exactly,
which is a beautiful thing. And as soon as you then start looking into it, and you realise
that's two sides. that's two sides of your brain. The one side is a bit like, oh,
yeah, of course.
Like we want an answer why this has happened. And that's what I said in an interview that didn't really get used that much. Is I think it's awesome. It's like when I discovered that symbol, when I were thinking about titles and stuff like that, and I never heard of it before, and I saw it, and then I read into it, started looking at it, and as soon as I did, she had it, and she was just about to get it tattooed, and then I saw it everywhere, and it was just like it's like a sign. It's like
it is.
Even it's the nearest thing that I've had apart from like seeing numbers and stuff like continuously is like it's just like it really made me believe in like the power of magnetism and stuff like that. Like because as soon as I saw it, and like Hannah were literally about to get on a palm and she didn't because she was like, oh my god, you're using that as your album cover, and then and I just didn't I didn't even know I saw it on. People had it tattooed. I saw it everywhere, and it was like, and it back of cars and everything. And
well, I mean, it's existed since like, it's in every culture.
Yeah, I mean, some people
800 BC,
and I mean, there's a lot of evidence. Well, evidence. I say there's a lot of people believe that it's literally in everything. Like you can look at anything, like a flower or anything, and that pattern will be there. It's almost like
as soon as you start looking into sacred geometry, it's crazy. Like as you look at like the Fibonacci and the golden section and stuff, and then you learn about the golden mean, and you realise that actually everything physically from so it's a measurement, right? That it'll be like, so that part of your finger is the proportion to this part of your finger, which is then proportion to that part, which is to your hand, to your arm.
Do it with cities and with cities and everything.
Yeah, it's crazy, and that's why people look at certain things and go, oh, that's really beautiful, or I look at that plant, it looks amazing. And it's because on a level of your DNA, it's programmed in this measurement, and then which is weird, because then you start thinking about it a bit much, and then you get into the whole weird sort of ancient aliens thing, and it's kind of nuts. But
it was Flower Life, one of them things that really, like, aside from a bunch of other things that have pushed me more, and I can't say I really believe in anything, because like I'd stand by it and I'd die for it, but like magnetism and stuff like that is the nearest thing, because so much happens, like I think I see a person in the street and I don't, but then I'll see him later that day, because I literally I've had it where I've gone, and to the point now where I've seen someone, saw someone at the gym the other day, and I went, and it was someone a friend, but not a friend anymore, and I went, I thought that was an old friend, but it weren't, and I went, I bet you anything I'll see him today or tonight. And we went out, and I never go out, and he were there at this party that was our party, and it was just like, it just really pushed me to the edge of being like, I believe in that stuff. Like when you like, it's almost like a gravity that you pull things towards by just the thought process and wanting, or kind of, and that's with that Flower Life, that's really what like it.
It is funny. Yeah, I 100% agree.
It got me really excited actually when we started using the backdrop and stuff. And I remember we met this what was that Buddhist name in Hare Krishna dude, called Paralada. And he were on Warped Tour for the whole thing, and he came up to me and he just went, I saw you using Flower Life as your backdrop, and you went, you know how insane that is for all the people watching, like what that's going to do for them. Like they don't know it, but they're having like twice as positive experience because they're staring at an image like that all the way through.
I just got goosebumps.
Yeah. and he went, do you know a lot about it? And I went, well, I've been reading about it, but there's so much to know, you know what I mean? And he went, and he came to our bus, and he just sat down, and we just talked about it. He just told me all about it and everything else, and gave me all these videos, and just it were awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
it is true. Like you saying about it being magnetism, and I mean everybody views it in different ways. I think that's why I used to be super intolerant about, not intolerant, but like other people's views of how they view those things, because everybody puts it in a different compartment and looks at it a different way, and a lot of people will use like organised religion as that explanation, and I would always I'd look down on it a bit, but now I think about these things more, and I see the connection of things. And it does exist.
That's why people could maybe jump a bit further.
Yeah, because it's an easy way to explain those things.
Yeah, and some people aren't happy. Some people are happier with a bad answer than a good question. You know what I mean? A lot of people I find need finalisation. Like they need an answer because they don't like the fact that they don't know. It's like why I think that's death is the biggest not knowing. That's why there's so many people have so many answers for it, because they don't like the fact they have no idea.
Yeah.
And I do, yeah. I think, and that's why I understand why people do. Although I do still look down on it and still wish it didn't exist, like organised religion and stuff. But
yeah, because that's because it gets used in a malicious way.
The way I look at religion, I know some of my mates who are a bit more sceptical than me are going to be listening to this and go, "It's not about magnetism." So it's only the same in ways. You've just got to be a bit more open to other people's ideas, and like you say, until the point of like actual offence or like it being.
Well, it's funny you say about numbers. Like, do you get that a lot? Because I do. I'm obsessed with 3s, 9s. For some reason, 1441 always comes up. Like, I always look at my phone.
It's 1111 for me. That's what I got above my eyebrow.
That's really auspicious, though.
But
that's great.
I mean, I don't even notice it anymore because it used to blow my fucking mind, and to the point of like every day, to the point where if I looked at my clock and it were 11:10. To me, that were an omen that I was gonna have a bad day, like things weren't right.
Yeah.
And it always was, and that's probably magnetism and just making yourself think that, and it's not gonna be a good day. But I just see it everywhere. And to the like, it's one thing to see it on clocks, and you know you watch and your computer and stuff. But I saw it on Lee's pedal tuner. I saw it once. I had my timer on. And as I looked to check the timer, I can't remember what I was doing, maybe dyeing my hair or something like that. Something where I had to wait. I look at it, 11 minutes and 11 seconds, and it'd been on for 45 minutes or something. I thought, out of every single second, like it was the second 11, and I was like, how? And it was just to the point where it was just freaking me out. And then you were there actually, weren't you? When I got my my new SIM card, I scratched off the activation code. It was 1111.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's
the same when we were in holiday. Holiday.
All happened at once. It was that the time was 11:11. Oh yeah. Just got a
yogurt. The expiry date were 11:11, and the password for the internet. No, the password for the internet was 1111.1111.1111. It was just like I was like, and after that, it's just been like. Even Jordan, who's like a proper skeptic, and I know will be like going, "Shut up, Ollie!" Like when he hears this, but like he saw me scratch off my SIM card, and he went, "That is fucking weird."
That's the best though, man, because that's I don't know. I personally see that's the universe having a word. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, and that doesn't seem ridiculous to me. The fact that it's all connected and it's all. I mean, it's mental anyway, and that's all what it relies on. The fact that it spins around perfectly, and you know what I mean. And they've got atoms and stuff, haven't they? That they've found that on two separate sides of wherever, doing the exact same things. You know what I mean? In harmony, they can't just explain it, and there's so much there to suggest that that's not a spiritual thing, but it's a scientific thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things how, like, I do believe that you know, whether. Personally, I like I'm really interested in magic, and I don't mean like bunch of flowers. Do you know what I mean?
I like
right?
that stuff though.
Yeah. Well, oh yeah, exactly. Card tricks and whatnot. But yeah, but I also mean, you know, I actually mean like, you know, magic, and I believe that is being aware that these things exist, these little connections, and you know, other people will look at it as positive thought and like putting out good vibes to make things happen for them or for friends and whatnot.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of the same thing, which then makes me think about the one, you know, if without going on about symbols too much, but I think it's quite interesting, right? Is like when you started using the universal hexagram, like it was a drown video, wasn't it, on the flag?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like the symbol for antivist somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess it's just kind of become another kind of like, rather than like a specific album, it's just something that represents what we're doing.
How did that come about? Was that just you saw it and you went, that's a cool symbol, or did it feel like it resonated and you wanted to, like, was that like you're saying with the Flower of Life thing?
In all honesty, it was because it was a cool symbol. But it obviously had a lot of to me, it always had a lot of like the symbolism of what a pentagram does, but without the satanic undertones. You know what I mean? More totally. Like of what Satanism really is when you scratch the surface. I mean, obviously there's a bit weird stuff with it, but a lot of it is just like do good. You know what I mean? Just treat other people like you would treat. And they don't believe in Satan, really, do they? They just don't believe in a God. But like obviously with the pentagram, you don't really get that anymore.
Yeah.
And I know the hexagram doesn't fully represent the same things and stuff, but it kind of has that more like don't believe in anything but yourself kind of vibe to me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, because like Crowley used it for Thelema. For me, like a hexagram, which most people will, like if you see a hexagram, most people just think that it's Star of David. But it's like the union of like positive and negative.
Yeah.
It's that yin and yang, isn't it? But the universal hexagram is like it can be drawn in one move. So it's almost like it's those two positive and negative interlinked.
Yeah, and you can't have one without the other.
Yeah, yeah,
exactly. And that's what our music is in a lot of ways as well. It's so good because it's sad and it's heavy and it's real. Do you know what I mean? But that's why it makes it good, and that's why it makes it feel positive, because it's about dark stuff. And it's you always find that's what I love about symbolism as well, is you can find a meaning in anything.
Yeah,
and some people view that as a bad thing. I think it's amazing how you can look at anything and you can connect it to anything. Do you know what I mean? Like when you premiered a Happy Song on Radio 1, and that week leading up, and we were doing all those puzzles and those things like that on my Instagram and stuff, and the theories people coming up to what it all meant, like Happy Song represents Hannah and Ollie because it's on the same day of the wedding, and they were finding out numbers and connecting it, and they were just making like something far grander than I could have thought of, making me look more intelligent, because it made me like I've made this Da Vinci Code style like quiz, but they were like piecing it all together like amazingly, and it's just that is what is great about symbolism, because whether it's a placebo or not, you can find you can find a message, and it's why it's so powerful, I guess.
Yeah, it's funny as well, right? I told you about it. Yeah, I told you when I spoke to Andrew WK, right?
Yeah, and you were really interested in Drop Dead and like what we do.
Because
we have that with a lot of Americans though.
Yeah.
The amount of times I've had like awkward situations with people thinking I'm in like the Freemasons and stuff.
Yeah.
Or the Illuminati is crazy.
Yeah.
And I think I told you about dude from asking me about it.
No?
Yeah, I'm not. I'm pretty sure it was. And he come up to me and we were talking for a while, and I think I'd been wearing something with like one of the Illuminati symbols. Oh, it was the all-seeing eye.
Okay.
All this stuff.
It was. And it might be
stage as well. I don't know why I'm doing that. We're doing all the all-seeing kind of like thing for diamonds.
Yeah.
And so he was talking to me after, and it were back in my drug days. So. And I heard that they've been doing DMT and stuff, which is something I was interested in at the time. And we were talking for a bit, and he just went to me, "So, are you a travelling man?"
That was.
It was.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Am I a travelling man?" What? And then he was like, and he said it to me again, and he kind of like nodded to me as he said it, and I was like, "Could this mean like travelling, like going on a trip, like drugs?" And I'm like, "Drugs." I was like, yeah, man, I'm a travelling man. And like, I knew it.
Yeah.
And he was like, and then he started telling me about his old man and how like he was involved in it all, but he didn't use the words like straight up. He kind of was doing all cryptic, and I just stood there going, "What have I got myself into?" I have no idea what he's talking about. And he was telling me all this stuff, and I was like, and I was too embarrassed to say anything, because I was like, I can't tell him now that I'm lying to him. So to carry on.
It wasn't a lie. It's just yeah.
And so he just telling me all this stuff, and I was like, this is also like, fuck, he's talking about Illuminati here, and so I was like, so it went on for ages. And after I was just like, I had to go and find him a couple of hours later. I went, mate, I've just got to tell you, I'm so sorry. I thought you meant something completely different.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was so cool, man. But
like, he's a total sweetheart, man.
Yeah.
He's a good person to sit and have chats with.
Yeah, I bet. No, he seemed really interesting.
He's smart and like he's he knows a lot of stuff that's super interesting.
Yeah,
he's a good dude. I thought it was funny that but yeah, like Andrew WK, when I said I can't even remember how it happened. It was because when I'd spoken to him previously, I had a feeling that he was like really interested in certain things, which we then we spoke about a couple of times, and that's kind of all around these sort of things. And then and we were speaking about it, and I was wearing this, like
Oh, yeah.
universal hexagram pendant. I should point out because there's no cameras. But and he said to me about it, and then he goes, and then he started talking to me about you lot, and I was really surprised because he was then going, oh yeah, they used it in this video, and they did it on this, and like he'd really like. It wasn't just like he'd gone,
seen it in passing.
Yeah, it's not like I see there's some band that are using this.
Yeah.
You know, he was really interested. It was cool, but I think this is interesting, man. I like talking about this sort of stuff.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
You don't get to talk about it enough.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have many... Well, I have people that are into it, but it is like, especially when you're in a big touring group, you're always going to get people that don't want to hear it and like kind of contest it, which is also fun to have.
Yeah.
To have debates and stuff,
it?
because it's... But sometimes it's just nice to talk about it when it's people who like... into the ideas of it and stuff too, for whatever reasons, if for nothing purely more than just
visual reasons,
debate and fun. It's just interesting, isn't it?
I thought, well, then carrying on with that, something that I thought was interesting was when you put out the Drop Dead shirt, This Means Peace.
Yeah,
because I thought that was a really ballsy move, because it's a weird thing, because anything you put a swastika on these days, I think it's changing, to be fair, because most people now are like coming through, and especially like as more people are tattooed, they're connected to the tattoo community, and that's definitely a group of people that are trying, in the West anyway, that are trying to reclaim that symbol.
You just got to stand by it. That's the thing. If you don't believe that it means peace, and if you don't know that, and you don't think it's not cool, you know what I mean? And I just don't. It's not. The symbol is not what makes it an evil. You know what I mean? It's like, you can take anything. You can take a dog, and you can have a nice dog. You can have a nice staffy or a pit bull, or you can have a horrible one where a lot of people see a pit bull and go, oh, that's going to be a bad dog because of the connotations. And it's the same. You can take anything and make it bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to look at a symbol and say, well, that's the Nazis use that, so now it's. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like it's beyond redemption.
And there's a way of obviously displaying it and it coming across, and where it would be offensive still, and you'd just be making a point by just having this big swastika on it without any context, like a tattoo, for instance, or that. But obviously, that what we did kind of was like breaking it in. It didn't look like an evil symbol. It didn't look. You can see that it was what it's getting across, and it is important because if it is something you're interested in, it is part of, which, like you say, it's part of nearly every single culture, and like
especially like, I mean, it not so much in the West. I think that's why people struggle with it, because you know you can travel around the East and you can go to Japan, India, Thailand.
It's in everything.
It's on everything.
Like tiles, like it's in places you can't see, and it's so pretty as well. It's such a perfectly just symmetrical, and it's just such a great symbol. And it's just one of those ones that just it's just too much of a shame not for it to still be relevant. It
is weird that people view it that way. It's like, no, I get it. I'm not so ignorant to go, oh, I don't know why you're so I mean, you know, that absolutely some of the most atrocious things that ever happened in history happened under the banner of that. But you've got the first known example of it was carved on there was like a carving of a bird made out of a mammoth tusk, which had swastikas on it, which is 10,000 BC, right? Which they found, I think, in the Ukraine. So it's existed in every culture for a minimum of that time, and then during a period in recent history you could look at it for like not even a 10-year period where such atrocious things happened. And the thing is, now it's like, well, you know, to the point where during World War II you had Native Americans burning all their burning items of their heritage, because it was a symbol that they used. Because
it's like the word ISIS, isn't it now?
Yeah.
Like
instantly,
like anyone that's got the band ISIS, that must be mortifying from that. People who've named the dogs or the children ISIS, or people who just like have, it's just like that's just become a bad word now, which sucks. Which I think makes perfect sense. The same thing as swastikas, but wouldn't it be better to take it back off them rather than let them keep it and leave that there? Just go, right, just put a line under it. Don't use swastika again, because it's been ruined now by them. Wouldn't it be better just to take it back, wash away what they made it mean?
Yeah, and make it meaningless and take it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I totally agree. It is funny that you can go to you go around Japan and you put Google Maps on and all the temples are marked with a giant swastika.
Yeah.
You know, I see people like when that T-shirt went up, there was like this huge backlash and everyone's like, oh, does that mean like this is a Nazi shirt? And then you'll get tattooists will put stuff up and it'll be like, oh, is this person a Nazi? And it's like, just a little bit of research is a beautiful thing.
And I don't think people want to research. People like to be offended. People like to be mad and have an opinion. It's
Which
like
then goes back to what we were saying at the whole start of it, where people are reading.
Yeah, but that's just life, innit? And we're all guilty of that. We're all guilty of wanting to believe stuff. We're all guilty of like the truth's never as exciting as a bit of a stretched, fabricated version of it, and it's not as fun to go, well, I see why they're doing that, because they want to make the symbol thing. They go, nah, I want to be angry about this because I'm bored, and it's better. I want to just have a little rant about it. People just think, well, everyone's entitled to an opinion now, and that's the problem, because everyone just has an opinion on stuff that they wouldn't usually have an opinion on. They don't need an opinion on it. It's not in their realm. It's not to do with them. They're not concerned. It's like when people like bash you for like to see something where it's like that's not vegan, but it's like, are you vegan? Like, and like so many people these days they've like planted my ideals in my head for me. Like they don't know me. People like to finger point more than they actually want the actual level-headed truth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No one's going, well, you know what? Actually, if you think about it this way, it's like people want to go hate it or love it, and that's it. And you kind of got to roll with that, I think. And that's why you just got to stand by what you do. You know what I mean? If you're going to put a swastika out, think about it. Think about, is it a positive thing? Is it worth doing? Is it going to just send the wrong vibe out to the people that you think? There's no point doing it. And that's why when I see tattooists have the symbol at tattoo shops and that, it never shocks me. I never look at it and go, what are they thinking? You know what I mean? But like, people can be shocked, fine, but as long as you've got no bad intentions with what you're doing, then what's it really matter? I see kids wearing that T-shirt and I never think, oh God. It's just because they're not aggressive people. They're not got skinhead and Doc Martens on and everything else, and like they're not walking around. You know what I mean? It's all you got to give it some context.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, that shirt did it anyway with the. I mean, as soon as you put dots between it anyway, a lot of people now are more open-minded and they go, all right, I get it. I get it's from that point of view. But yeah. Anyway. It did have a smiley face, a love heart, and a peace symbol, and it was doing the peace hands. So it was like, how can you not?
It was literally as candy coated.
Yeah, it was pretty much ramming it home, to be fair.
And the name of it was called It Means Peace. So
yeah.
Just for anyone else who might have still been a bit confused.
Yeah.
It was all like wrapped up into a nice, easy, digestible package.
It's crazy, isn't it? Like, so knee-jerk about stuff. Anyway, right, we should talk about what you've got going on with the band, because we haven't done that. I haven't even spoken to you since the album came out. Not properly.
Not about the album.
No. But I mean, that's kind of, I feel like it's kind of, I don't want to be the guy that's like, oh yeah, when that came, because it feels like it's done now. Not done, but you know what I mean? There's no point talking about it now, because talking about music when music's available and people can listen to it, and that's the important thing, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it is. Yeah, I think anyone who follows has probably heard all they need to hear about the album. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, there's some interesting stuff happening. I think, as far as like, I think that the Royal Albert Hall thing is going to be amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be incredible.
And did that come about because in my head, you did that live lounge for Annie, Made a Veil session, sorry. And you did the acoustic version of Drown with the string quartet, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which was amazing.
Yeah. And
did it kind of grow out of that, or had you already thought, we're going to at some point do this, and maybe this is the way to sort of see if it's going to work?
I don't know when they start, because basically Teenage Cancer Trust, who are putting on all the gigs, they've been talking to Craig and that for quite some time about like us doing it, because it's always more like, you know, about
heritage
bands,
yeah,
David Gilmour and stuff like that, but since it's for Teenage Cancer Trust, I guess they've been like basically putting forward the case like you should have a band that teenagers like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That some of the patients are into and stuff like that. So it's like the first time a band like us has really ever done it. And I don't know if the orchestra thing were just like you say off the back of that, or it was just like just felt right. I think because it was Royal Albert Hall and wanted to do something special for it. And yeah, we did. I mean, I think ever since There Is a Hell, really, strings have really become a part of what we do, and we've had string players from there. Well, I mean, we couldn't afford them for There Is a Hell, so we got a really good program.
Yeah.
But like ever since that, and then when Jordan came in for the Sempiternal and really started being able to orchestrate them and that, and we've had real orchestras into recording, they've really been part of what we do anyway.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and we always, I mean, I'm not a Metallica fan, but I always thought S&M were incredible.
Yeah.
So, where it's not going to be quite like that because we have strings, we don't have to like completely fabricate a whole new.
Like rework everything.
Yeah, so it's all there, but it's going to be more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think Jordan was showing me all like the scores the other day, like the guys programmed them, so it's all on MIDI, so it sounds like Zelda as fuck, like which is actually quite cool.
Wicked,
it's probably better for it, and it just
like
it sounds mind blowing. Like Doomed were like just proper like. Just it sounded like Space Odyssey 2001 or something, just like proper like it just sounded like way madder than I thought. Like you can tell like Jordan's been, and he's been doing it with these proper, you know, conductors and people like the best people, like, and his mate Will who does it all is incredible as well. He was the guy who did the Radio 1 thing. He's just so much better than it's good because I know that I'm so much involved or anything creative or like this, but because I'm not, I can't help there really. I have no idea. I have no idea where to start with strings. I can kind of just been letting Jordan get on with it. So he just shows me it's so good. Just hearing it. I almost don't want to hear it because I'm like, just save it for the day.
Yeah.
But like he showed me, and it was like, this is insane.
But that'll be overwhelming then.
I know.
You wouldn't be able to concentrate. You'd just be like, you'd be in the moment, just like.
It was like 60 piece. And there's choir. There's clarinet players, harp players.
Wow.
They brought in this. He showed us photos. Went, do you reckon I should get this organ for the show? And I was like, I can't see an organ, and it was the size of a house. It's in the Royal Albert Hall, like the size of a house at the back. You could not see it, and I think he's going to play it. He's going to play it as well for some songs. There's everything, like flute, like clarinet, saxophone for Oh No.
Amazing.
It's just going to be mind blowing, I think.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty special, isn't it? Do you know? Is that getting filmed and stuff as well?
Yeah, we're doing a DVD. We've been filming they're filming all like the actual kind of stuff leading up to it, you know, like the pre-production and so it's gonna be quite a cool DVD. It won't just be a straight up like Wembley. I think we're gonna try and cut it with like interviews with all the people that were involved and us, and even maybe some of the fans there on the day and stuff, and try and make something special out of it because it's for charity as well. We need like, and Jordan were like, I want a 60-piece choir, orchestra, sorry, or like, and we needed a bit more money, so we kind of convinced the label to do this, and you know, just to cover the costs for the actual night. So
amazing.
It's going to be cool.
Yeah, that's going to be ace. And then the other thing after that, you got the touring. Is it October, November? It starts last day of October.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Halloween.
Yeah, nice. And two O2s, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I've watched your band go from like EPs and each, and, you know, and I say it to I've said it enough, and I don't want to sound like I'm like blowing smoke up your ass, but with each release, there've been these huge leaps where you're just going, because I see it that your band has always led a scene which you've never wanted to be part of, as far as I can tell. And so each time you're transcending that and raising the bar for everyone else, which is amazing, I think, because it only means, it means there'll be a bunch of bands that will just rip you off and try and do this and try and think that this is what it is that's going on, but it'll also inspire a whole new bunch of bands in a way so they get better.
Yeah.
But I've seen that progression in the band grow, and I think to now be doing two shows at the O2 is mind blowing.
It's mad.
It's amazing to see, like, because there's not many bands within this world that get to be that big, and there's not many, and the amount of British bands is even fewer.
Yeah.
Especially like.
And over a 10-year period, you get bands that blow up or a flash in pan, but
yeah,
you don't. I agree. You rarely get bands on like the 5th album at the biggest. You know what I mean? Getting to play all their new songs because that's all that anyone wants to hear, not the old stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
do you like that, or do you sometimes?
We love it. It's every band's dream, though, isn't it? Every band wants to play their new album when they've done it, but they know they can't, and only the knobheads do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true. Like, here's our new record, and we're gonna play all of it, and you're gonna like it whether you like it or not.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
like most bands are doomed. Like bands like Lost Prophets were doomed to finish with Shinobi vs Dragon Ninja every night.
Yeah.
No matter what album they put out, they were just haunted by that song.
Yeah. Luckily,
we never had a hit that big at first, you know what I mean, where it defined who we were.
Yeah.
And we got better each time, and it's just like, if you go on Spotify now, it's the top 5 songs are like, it's Throne, Happy Song, Follow You, and it's
amazing.
Just says so much about, I mean, the fact that Follow You is number 3, a band that used to sound like what we sound like, and that song is so widely accepted.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean, it's like, and we're always like, we've got to play more of the old stuff because we think that's what the kids want, but we go and then all the new ones just go down so much better. It's just incredible. It's
well,
like,
it is like a whole new crowd, but you have.
But we still play Chelsea Smile, and it's still mental.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? So it's not like, even though people get into us all the time, they love it all, but it's not like they don't have a clue what we're doing. It's just great that they respond, they react more and more positive to every album we do. It's just really lucky to get that, really. Yeah,
because I've said it before. There's I can't think of any other bands in this world that will have a fan base that is prepared. It sounds like a silly thing to say almost, but like prepared to go with it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because we all know bands that have tried to move off in different directions. I mean, I'm not going to say progress because it's not. It's to do, broaden their palette or whatever. And the fan base has gone, no, we're not having it.
I think what's unique about our band is where a lot of bands do that. It weren't that they never could. It's just that they were doing what they loved, and they realised they needed to do something else because they needed to make more money, or they wanted to get bigger and they wanted to be a bigger band. Usually, or they didn't know what to do, but they knew that they couldn't do the same album again, so they tried to do something else, even though it weren't what they want to do. That's why you get a lot of metal bands going cop rock, I think, because they don't know where to go, because they don't have really much interest in other music outside of rock. Whereas for us, what we're doing now is what we've always wanted to do. We just couldn't do it before.
Yeah.
I couldn't sing, you know what I mean? We didn't have Jordan. So it's not a question of us going, let's do stuff we don't want to do. It's like, this is what we've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
Suicide Season and There Is Hell were the nearest thing we could get to that. I used to listen to albums where I used to go, we'll never write an album as good. It's just like a consistently good album that with that many hooks and that thing, because we're not capable. And now I don't think like that. Now, like, I'm so proud we've made that album, and it's not, so we're never a question of like doing something to get bigger. It's like, this is what we've always wanted to do. This is the band we would have been like 8 years ago if we could have been. Do you know what I mean? Ever since after Count Your Blessings, we wanted to be just so different to what we were doing. You know what I mean? As soon as we realised it was more than just a joke, we were like, I always wanted to write the music I was actually listening to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd grown out of Cannibal Corpse and Decapitated and stuff by the time I was like 21, you know what I mean? And I was listening to I loved Under Oath. I just thought it was incredible, and I wanted to make music more like that, and just listening to bands like the bands when we were writing There Is a Hell, this band called Turbo Weekend that I've just listened to religiously.
Yeah.
And it was stuff that I felt I could never be. We can't be like that because we're a metal band. And then every time I was just like, why not? Why can't we be more like that? That's what we listen to. That's what we do. We listen to dance music. We listen to like electro. We listen to all these weird indie stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's just why can't we use all these influences in what we do rather than just keep doing the same thing? So yeah. All that is for us is we're just now where we've always wanted to be. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's why it gets people accept it, because it don't feel fake for a second.
Yeah.
It don't feel any less emotional. It don't feel like we're putting any less effort in. It don't feel any more safe, really. It's still, in a lot of ways, it seems more. It feels more like rock and roll and heavy than ever in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just because we're appealing to a crowd that aren't used to it and more people that haven't seen stuff like that before, but it just feels a bit more real to us than what it ever has before. And I think even though people can't see that, and people are a bit at first like, oh, you know, that's way more melodic, I think that's why ultimately people end up loving it, and it ends up being the favourite stuff, because it's not fake, it's not forced.
Yeah.
No one's helped us write it. We didn't even have a fucking producer, you know what I mean? This is just us. No one, our label are on our backs. Our label had no idea what we were doing, you know what I mean?
They got to be happy.
They'd signed us off the back of There Is a Hell. They weren't expecting any commercial hits. They just wanted us to be like their flagship heavy bands. They didn't know they didn't know what we were going to do, and they've never ever put pressure on us to do anything. So all the pressure is from us. And I even last album on That's the Spirit, when we were writing, we were like, we need some heavier stuff. We wrote this like proper heavy song, heavier than anything on Sempiternal. And it were cool, don't get me wrong, but it was just felt like a step backwards. And it just didn't feel like us. It's just like, we've done breakdowns. I feel like when we did like House of Wolves breakdown, to me, I was like, that's it. That's the best breakdown we're gonna write. Like we've took them as far as they can without them becoming, because you can break down something I love, but at the same time you can go really technical, which is like bands like August Burn Red and all stuff like that, where it's like, and they're good to a degree, but they're not noddy good. They're like, oh wow, that's tech.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas I like just proper, you know, new metal style things, but without the actual full-on cheesiness of new metal. And I think like when we did like stuff on Sempiternal, those breakdowns were like that mastered, and anything else would just us be repeating them. It's a code. There's only so much you can do with a breakdown that actually makes it good, and if you step outside that, it's just not good anymore. It's got to have that balance, it's got to have that rhythm, and it can only follow a certain progression, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we did it, and it was cool, but it was just like a repeat, and it just didn't feel right, and it just felt so wrong. And it's like, right, that's when we knew. We spent this whole day on this song that was super heavy, and we was like, no, it's just let's fuck it, you know what I mean? That's gonna work out worse if we try and do that, because we don't want to. Yeah. And it's coming across that we don't want to. None of us are stoked about it. None of us are buzzing. So let's just do the album we want to do without worrying about if people think we've gone too soft.
Yeah. Do you know where? Do you have an idea where you want it to go next, or is that just going to be like a thing when it comes around to it? We'll see what comes out.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Like, feel That's the Spirit literally sucked us for everything that we got. Squeezed us dry of all creative. Everything that I could think of is on there, and we could think of is on there. Like, really, like, to get those 11 songs just was everything. You know what I mean? We had not a drop of like, we don't do like 15, 20 songs and then pick our favourite 10. We get 10, 11 good ones, and that's it. There's nothing else.
Yeah.
So I think it's gonna take a while for that to come. It already is. Like, I love writing and I love writing. So it already slowly is coming back, and I can already see where I'd like to take it. But it's going to be a long time off. So I don't really. It's almost like I want to just enjoy the playing these songs and not. Because another thing I get is when I start thinking it makes me really like Sempiternal sounds so dated to me. Even Drown to me sounds a little bit more vintage than the rest, just because of that short gap of and because we're really pushing ourselves all the time. That my singing gets better, the writing gets better, we understand things more, just how we implement Jordan's stuff into the music. Like, we had on Sempiternal, like some tracks were like 45 tracks of digital stuff separate, whereas like you shouldn't have more than 8 tracks fully. You know what I mean? And we didn't understand that because we're just too excited, and it's all just like things figuring it out less is more and getting it all heard. And so every time we do something, it pushes the old stuff to make like Sempiternal. I can't listen to it. I can't listen to the way I'm singing because it's not. I had no idea what I was doing, and although it does sound good, it's I can hear how forced it how.
Where you want to reach to, like you've said.
Like, I can't sing like I've really struggled with Sempiternal because it would just like, yeah, sure, in the studio you can do it once or twice that take, but then your voice is blown. I blew my voice out 2 or 3 times in the studio because I was completely singing wrong. Whereas now that I'm really getting to grips with it, and That's the Spirit were all sung using the techniques I've learned, and I really knew my range, so I'm really like doing what I should be doing, and so I'm really singing properly. So it's not only a lot more fun, and it's just I connect with it a lot more because it's what I'm meant to be doing, whereas the other stuff is not. So it's just like I don't want to like start thinking about new music and then be like, oh, that's a Spirit sound shit to me now, you know.
But then I guess, yeah. But then I think it's almost as if that Albert Hall thing is like another. It is an avenue off, but it's now you're going to be reinterpreting things in a different way. That might even, I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying.
No, I get you. Well, I mean,
it's another evolution of things,
and
or another addition to it.
And I mean, Mash was saying yesterday, one of our managers, saying how exciting if it does go really well, and we could take it to somewhere like Sydney Opera House, or you know what I mean, like travel world doing this whole different tour. It's just exciting to think.
Yeah, it's going to be a bunch of tour buses though, and a lot of trucks.
Yeah, and
a lot expensive
of angry union workers.
Yeah. All right, amazing.
Sweet.
Yeah, thanks for that.
No, cheers for having me.
Right, that was Swim Podcast Episode 3. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks to Ollie for taking some time to chat to me about it. Also, shout out to Hannah for sitting there and in silence. Whereas I think most people, if you sitting in a conversation and there's stuff that you find interesting and that you want to get involved in, you would chip in. And she did that hardly at all. She was very cool with it. So cheers. You can hit me up online. It's at Daniel P. Carter on Twitter and Instagram. Also, the podcast is at Swim Podcast, Twitter and Instagram as well. If you could subscribe, that would be amazing. If you could tell your mates about it as well, that would also be amazing. If you've got a website and you want to quote stuff out of context and use it as clickbait, that would suck. I've got a couple of more of these in the bag now, actually, already. So there's the next episode is going to be with Scott Ian from Anthrax, and we get into like it's wicked. Actually, it's a real good one. And then after that, it will be with John Baisley from Baroness. But we didn't speak about Baroness. We just spoke about painting, which was super interesting, and I was way into it. So if you're up for hearing like the other side of things a little bit, yeah, listen out for that one. I've also found that I've gone through a bunch of interviews that I've done in the past for my Radio 1 show, where only a tiny fragment of it got used, and then I'm left with like 25 minutes of good stuff. I've got a real good one with Randy Bly from Lamb of God talking about his book and prison and their last album, which is real good actually. So I might use that as a sort of stopgap because it's not a full hour. Like I said, I think it's 25 minutes, so maybe I'll put that up as a little bit of like bonus content and whatnot. Anyway, so thanks for listening. Scott Ian is on the next one. Peace.